Welcome back to our second session on structure charts and pseudocode. In this session, we're going to look at decisions. In the last session, we actually looked at what was called sequencing, where each step was done one after another. Now we're going to actually introduce the ability to think and make decisions or choices between two options or more. There are three basic diagrams we need to remember. One is the if-then statement. The next is the if-then-else. And the last one's known as a case statement or the switch statement. So in the if-then statement, it's called a null-false branch because there is no second tree arm to it, where the if-then-else has an then part, a true part, and an else part, which is the false part. And in a case statement, we could have case A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, and these can have many arms, so there is no limit to it. So in a one-tail condition, if x is equal to 1 and that is true, it'll do B. But if x is not equal to 1, it won't actually ever action B, it'll just continue on. We can see that in our pseudocode example, we've got begin A, so that's the main program, and then we've got the if statement. If x equals 1, which is the condition from the diamond, then B. The then part is the true part. And then we have an end if, and then end A. And what you'll notice about a lot of the structures, whenever we do a decision structure or repetition structure, we'll have a end part to that. So remember, with an if statement, you've got to include an end if. An example of this you can see in the coding here. If pin number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, then the message box, the pin number is correct, end if. If they don't get the number correct, then nothing occurs. With a two-tail condition, we not only have a true branch, but we've also got a false branch. In our coding, we would use that as an else statement. So we would still design our pseudocode much the same way. We have a begin A, and then we have if x equals 1, then B. If that's not true, then else. So this is the false branch, C. Then we need to end the if statement, and because there's no more functions called, then we end the A statement. We can see that in our example code. If pin number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, then message box, the pin is correct. Else message box, the pin is incorrect. The multiple condition or the case statement has multiple arms. They can have multiple conditions. So in this case here we have begin A, and you notice that the case statement has the letter in there like x equal to, or the condition of the decision, but the results are placed on the arms of the structure. So case x is equal to 1, then B. Case x is equal to 2, then C. Case x is equal to 3, then D. And you notice that in our pseudocode, we actually have begin A, case x equals, and then we can have 1, B, 2, C, 3, D, like the if statement, end case, and we've got to end our begin block, end A. You can see a case statement here. Choice, input box, enter either 1, 2, or 3. Case 1, message box, thank you for entering the number 1. If they entered a 2, thank you for entering number 2. Or if it's a 3, message box, thank you for entering number 3. So you can see through the structure there are different types. The three main types, just in revision, is an if-then statement, if-then-else, and then a case statement. So the rule of thumb is if it's got 3 or more, it's case. If it's only a 2-legged decision, it's an if-then-else. If it's only a 1-legged decision, it's an if-then statement. So 3 or more has to be a case statement. Now when we go down to our first example here, we notice we've got fishing. X equals 2, we've got water, we've got go home and try again. So let's have a look at actually solving this one. So the first thing we need to do is actually First thing we need to do is start with our begin blocks. Begin, and we'll put fishing, But once we've got the begin fishing, we've also got to make sure that we end that out as well. So I'm just making this a little wider. So we need to also make sure we end that block. So some of the first things I'll do is always put the end fishing. Now, in here, the very first function call made is water. Because there's no condition about the water, it's just a straight function call like a sequenced one. Now, as we move across, so we'd go down, do the function water, come back up to fishing. As we go across, we now have a decision, x equals 2. Because it has a diamond and it's x equal 2, it's an if statement. So we can actually say if x equals 2. Now all decisions have a true branch. So we always have a then. And we can actually say then go home. And we'll put that on its own line. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to stub this out a little bit better. Much the same way you would actually write your code. Now, because there is a false branch to this, we've also got to include that in our solution. So after the go home, we would then have else, and then we would have the false part of it, which is try again. Then we need to conclude our if statement. So we need to go end if. And then because there's no more structures after the if statement, we would actually then end the program. So as you can see now, this is the pseudo code for this structure chart. Now in the next one, you notice that we've actually got 2 decision diamonds. So the solution's going to have begin fitness. So you can actually work through this on your own and I'll talk it through. We actually go begin, fit equals yes, then run, else relax, and if. Because once that's finished, we go into another if statement, we would have a straight if after the structure. So after this end if, we would have if sleep equals true, then snore, else get up, end if, and fitness. So you can actually see that in this solution, we're going to have 2 lots of if statements. As we go down through these, you'll notice we get to a case statement. And I just want to talk about this case statement. In here, we'll actually have case count x equals, so begin count, case x equals, and then you'll have greater than 20, stop. So what we'll do is we'll just do that little module there. So we'll insert a text box. And we'll just look at that module there. So we'll go begin, count. From there we start with the case statement. Case x equals. And then we can actually have what x is equal. So if x is less than 20, then we stop. If x is greater than 21 and less than 40, we can actually prepare. And if x is greater than 41, then we actually go. And then we end the case. And then we can actually end count, because there's no more little functions in that box. So be aware of that. Be aware of the case statement, because case statements can actually have between statements and greater than this and less than that, and they can have what are called dual conditions, which is what we've got here. So that concludes our introduction to decision statements, and your job now is to conclude and complete the rest of those structures.